think it's really valuable for our listeners and viewers to hear from great players of your guys' generation. Clearly, all three of you are in that category. You're in the process of shaping these brilliant careers, and at the same time, you have a firm grasp on what it took for you to get to the elite level that you guys have all gotten to. All three of you teach here in Boston at New England Conservatory. You guys are active worldwide as clinicians and giving master classes and give a lot as far as teachers go. Can you share your insight on what you guys look for in a young player that might be applying for New England Conservatory, another great music school? And then also maybe an extension of that, what you look for in terms of a young player who's just getting out of school, looking to possibly sub in the Boston Symphony. I can't say win a position in Boston Symphony. I think it's going to be a long wait. But maybe they're looking for a position in another orchestra or subbing with you guys or in the Pops Orchestra, whatever it might be. But kind of those two things, what you look for from a development standpoint, and then after they get through a conservatory training.
Sure. Well, when you look, we just had NEC auditions not too long ago, a couple days ago actually, and I think one of the things that I look for is someone who comes in with something to say, and if they miss a couple notes, or if they chip a couple things, or if the pitch isn't quite right, or the slide coordination isn't quite right, but they have something to say and can communicate, and they have thought about what the overall scope of the piece says. And if they're able to make a phrase, those are the things I'm looking for, because I think all of us we can give them exercises. We can kind of teach them, okay, here's what you do, here are things to work on this. But sometimes it's hard to pull passion out of students. I mean, I want the passion to be out there on their sleeves, and that's the best way that I can work with a student. At the professional level. For someone coming in to play with us, you're looking for someone with great radar, someone who listens really well, someone who understands functions of chords, understands that they've got the fifth, you can't be too low on that, or they've got the third, you can't be too high on that, and constantly adjusting, and constantly listening, and understands the style. Those are the basic things, and just are they good people? Just a good person, fun to work with, affable. Those are the things that I hope for. What about you guys?
I love it. I couldn't agree more. I mean, but I'm sure we all agree on that level.
Yeah, I mean. Dr. Suzuki, Shinichiro, I think is his name, Suzuki, who developed the Suzuki violin method. The way he looked at music was that he was looking at his students and saying, all Japanese children learn to speak Japanese. So why shouldn't all children have some kind of musical development? And he looked at music as a language. And so I like to take that same analogy when I have students that come in and they come into the college. If music is a language, okay, do you understand the language that you're talking in?
Yeah.
I mean, do you come up there in terms of what Steve was saying, do you have something to say? It's, do you understand the basic musical language? How basically to structure a phrase? So that if you look at language and you say, do you drop at the end of a question? Or do you drop at the end of a question? Or do you, if you understand just basic elements of phrase structure, if they've got that, a lot of technical things on the instrument are correctable, especially if they're coming in at 18 as a freshman. Very correctable, and many things are correctable even as a grad student. But how much of phrasing, just basic musical development, do they have? Because it's easier to pick that up when you're younger, and it's hard to pick it up when you're older. And if you've got a basic understanding of it and you're coming in as a grad student, that's good. If you don't have a great understanding of it, it's tougher, even if you play the instrument really, really well. If you don't understand the basics of good phrasing or good decision making, it can be tougher. So what I'm looking for specifically are people who just understand it and get it because they listen to it and they know how it works, basically.
Yeah, I mean, you can tell if they're passionate about it. You can tell if they put on a trombone solo CD just for fun, just because they like listening to it. It's not because they have to or their teacher told them to. It's, how did Kristen Lundberg do this,
Mhm.
or how did Joe Alessi do this? And you can see this in students who are truly interested. How does this work? So that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
I gotta say, I found this to be interesting. Actually, this is the first time that we sat in on NEC auditions together, the three of us. I just found it really interesting that we're all very effective teachers, but the things that grab hold of us in an audition is not always the same.
Mm-hmm.
So, and this is not good or bad; it just is. It's like you want to choose a student that you're both going to thrive. The teacher and the student are going to thrive together to realize success in the individual, the student, that is to say. For me, the thing that I get excited about is seeing the killer instinct. The reason is because I was not very talented, especially after I changed my embouchure. In fact, I felt often dismissed by teachers. That's not to say that I had a bad experience with some of the notable teachers that I have had. It's just I didn't always feel like teachers were eager to spend that extra effort, to be my mentor. But I just had this innate stubbornness, and I would say it's my own killer instinct that I was going to make success happen regardless. And when I see that sort of quiet killer, I get excited. I love it because I know if I can't give them all the answers that they need, they're going to find it anyway. And it's sort of me like suggesting that I don't always have the answers. It's like I do everything I can, but I might not be able to give them everything that they possibly need.
What are some of the traits of the killer instinct?
Traits of the killer instinct.
I'm curious.
Well,
I don't mean to put you on the spot.
No. I think it's an excellent question because it's sort of it's an unfortunately vague answer. Killer instinct. So what, you want me to be packing a gun? What do you No, it's like it actually has to do with and this ties into the other part of your question is something that John Swallow told me, who made a great living freelancing. In fact, at a time when you could make a much better living, I think, freelancing than you can now. He built a tremendous career, but he would talk about the most you could hope for when you come into freelance is to sit down and have quiet confidence. Not like jovial confidence. This is sort of like, hey, did you hear me nail that one? You've heard about that. So you don't really want that so much. And you don't want somebody to come in and just be like, was that good enough? Was that okay? God, I can't quite figure out the pitch or the rhythm here. Can you help me with that? I'm trying to play my part. I'm not gonna hold your hand while you try to play second. I need you to just be on me, like white on rice and a paper plate in a snowstorm. Okay, just be on me and have that quiet confidence that if you don't get it this time, you'll get it the next time, and it's not going to rattle your cage if you miss it both times. It's okay. So to me, that's the killer instinct. You have to have an agenda, of course, but that sort of quiet confidence is sort of like a person that's sitting in the back of the room with a sniper rifle. It's going to happen no matter what. I get super excited about that. As far as the other part of the question, I think that the advice that I would give somebody that's aspiring to be a freelancer, it's hopefully on to bigger and better things, is when an institution like the Boston Symphony or the Boston Pops is looking to find a sub, there's any number of people that they can call that will do a great job. The fact that somebody gets called has as much to do with their incredible ability on the instrument as it does to our desire to hang out with them for 2.5 hours. There's people that, they don't pass the weirdness test. And look, we've all got our stuff, our bag of rotting vegetables that, is just, we've we've all got our stuff, and but if yours is especially smelly, it's really not so fun to give you a call and sort of deal with that while we're trying to make ourselves look and sound pretty. So you gotta pass the weirdness test. You have to be a sort of person that we'd want to hang out with for a week and have a good time.
Mm-hmm.
But then also there's that quiet confidence.
Yeah.
You gotta cultivate that. You have to practice it, just like a lip slur. I mean, I'm not by nature a confident guy, but I absolutely practice it. Practice your game face.
Yeah, that's a great piece of advice. Well, in addition to being members of one of the great symphony orchestras in the world, you guys, all three of you, are active as soloists, as chamber musicians, as clinicians, as teachers, wearing so many different hats and looking forward. What are your individual goals for, say, the next 20, 25, 30 years?
You know, Doug Yo imparted a great Kleinhammer saying, "Inch by inch, life's a cinch. Yard by yard, life is hard." And anytime I start thinking that far away, I get really stressed out. I start thinking things like, God, I really hope that I can retire gracefully and I'm not fired because I just sound bad. Like, I hope I can make it to the point that I can, get my pension and then just gently let somebody else take over for me.
I don't know much, but I'm reasonably sure that's going to happen.
Well, I think that this is probably the best opportunity to make it said than other. It's there are injuries that happen, and I think the BSO is, by comparison to other trombone sections in the Big Five, a lean section, minus a player, and so that situation would be, I think, have a stronger possibility for injury than others, and if somebody were to sustain an injury, it'd probably be me. So I'm very careful about that, and I think about when we have Tanglewood in particular can be very taxing. We'll go from Heldenleben to Mahler 2 to Berg 3 pieces to Beethoven 5 to Mozart Requiem, all in the space of 2 weeks, and it hurts, and I come away from that and thinking, okay, how can I not only sound good but thrive in this environment? And I keep coming to this conclusion that we're in a lean section, and as much as I would like to take a risk here, I think I need to be careful. It's not a fun way to be, but I do think about, I sure hope I can make it to 58 and not be fired because I sound bad. So that said, I would love to have, if that were to happen, I would love it if I could have a few recordings out there that are of me sounding good, like I deserve to be here. And I would like it if I could have a few students that were able to generate similar amounts, if not more, success for themselves than I was able to generate for myself. The fact that I have, for all intents and purposes, the best trombone section on the planet to work with is just icing on the cake. It was something I'd hoped would happen, and it did. So I hope that it these other goals that I have for myself will happen as well. But as I said, when I start looking that far down the line, it gets really stressful. And so I think I start thinking, okay, well, I got to just look an inch away, and then everything seems doable for some reason.
Yeah, that's good. Well said, and I appreciate the candor. That's great. Steve, how about yourself?
Well, I think for me, I just want to continue. My goal is to just continue to be passionate about the trombone. And I agree with Toby. I think it's just I'm so fortunate to be sitting between these two fellows and continue to be, and these guys are very passionate about what they do. And so it's infectious, So I guess, as a section, I want to continue to, we have our own goals, we want to, and maybe they're not so measurable sometimes, but I think we all agree that we want to continue to be passionate about what we do, and when we end up in about 15 years playing Tchaikovsky's Sixth for the 100th time, we can still find new and unique ways to approach it, because I actually feel confident that we're going to be talking about the nuances of articulation 15 years from now, and I'm excited about that because we grow as people, we grow as musicians, but we all have families, and at the end of the day, that's what's really most important to all of us, is our family. And then we have our family, the three of us. It's kind of like a marriage. Well, not really.
It's an arrangement.
Yeah, but you get the idea.
Sure.
So we have us, and we have our goals too. So, but yeah, I think just the main thing is just let's stay passionate. Let's stay about the music, and we'll go out and do our own things. We'll make recordings. Maybe we'll make a section recording. I'm hoping for that, actually.
Yeah.
And so things like that. I just want to stay happy playing music and delivering, hopefully inspiring music to folks who are willing to sit down and listen.
Good stuff. Jim, how about yourself?
When I was, this is a really good question. When I was an aspiring student and I wanted a job, I sort of felt like I was climbing a mountain. And as Toby said, inch by inch. And it was like, with all my lessons were about moving by those inches necessary to go forward, because that's how we progress. And I used to think that, all right, I'm climbing a mountain, I can see the peak there, that's a job, that's employment. And so finally I got a job in the Pittsburgh Symphony. And then I realized, oh wait, I'm at the top. Oh shoot, I couldn't see. There's another ridge and there's another peak out there. All right, that's the Philharmonic. And then you get there, and then you realize there's another ridge and another peak. And I used to think that the peak was finding employment, and I've since realized that these are just steps along the career. And if I get into climbing Mount Everest, I feel like, okay, maybe I'm at base camp 2 now. And so my big goal right now is, it's actually teaching and pedagogical more than anything. It's to, especially being a bass trombonist, it's to enable and empower students to continue climbing and to climb higher than I ever will be able to. And I think my teacher, Joe, has done and is doing a fabulous job at raising up, helping train new trombonists with excellent skills, really good foundations, and elevating aspects of trombone playing that have been either neglected or less than consistent. And I would love to continue on that work, add my own stuff to it, and help at least be a part in enabling and empowering young bass trombonists, this generation of upcoming students, to be able to surpass what I can do now, to aspire to do at the age of 20 what I can do at 40, so that when they get 40, they can go places that I can't even dream of doing. But I want to arm them with their crampons, with their pickaxe, with all the stuff that they need, and the intellectual know-how to use that equipment, so that when they get to those spots that I've never been to, they can navigate those areas and know how they're going to approach it. I would love to be part of that. I would love to see that happen. That's sort of my big long-range goal musically. I mean, it's also important, as you said, there are other goals, family goals, to be around for my family, to see milestones in my kids and in my marriage. We've been married 16 years now. That's a long time. And I want to help enable all of these things to continue moving forward.
Yeah. Well, great words from all three of you. And I know, being a bit older myself, it is about the journey, and living in the journey and living in the moment and experiencing all these things. And you realize there are other crests out there that we're not thinking about right now. And I totally agree with you, Toby. I mean, I have my own little goofball saying is how to eat an elephant one bite at a time, and it's the same idea as inch by inch. So you're staring at an elephant that you have to eat there's no way you can possibly comprehend it, but one bite at a time somehow it ends up happening. So I think that's that's a really valuable lesson for especially younger players out there that are looking at this somewhat insurmountable task, but it isn't. It's just a matter of one step at a time. So, guys, I really appreciate you taking the time. I always like to finish our interviews with just one quick thought. If you had, because there are people out there that want to be the next Toby Oft and Steve Lange, Jim Markey. If you could capsulize it down to one piece of advice, just one thing, it doesn't even have to have anything to do with music. I mean, Peter Erskine, when I interviewed him, he said, "Be happy." That was his advice, which was great. I mean, of course, obvious, but incredibly poignant. Anyway, one piece of advice you would offer to anybody out there in terms of especially young trombonists who would be interested in following in your guys' footsteps. Jim, maybe we'll lead off with you.
Enjoy it. I mean, that's what music is here for anyway. It's for pleasure. It's for enjoyment. And so don't lose sight of that. Even as you are in your practice room doing scales or doing stuff that might not seem enjoyable, find the enjoyment in it, because there is a bigger picture, much bigger picture to everything. Never ever lose that enjoyment of it.
Great. Steve.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with what Jim just said. Just enjoy the process, and just keep your dreams alive. My dad always said that, or my parents actually, they said, you can do anything you want to do if you try, if you work hard and you try. And so, for the younger student, if that's something you want to do and you want to play music for a career, you can do it. You can do it. Just keep the dream alive.
I'd say it. I agree. It's just I go at it a different way.
Yeah, sure.
I hate regret. I just hate regret. Much of my life is like I'll take risks that I wouldn't normally take because I try to imagine how I would feel tomorrow when the moment is gone. And it's just like the time to have taken the opportunity is missed. And I think, okay, would I be okay if I skip this opportunity? And the opportunity could be like to fix the pitch on the end of a row shoe. Or I'd say Bordoni, but let's remember where we are.
Be blasphemous.
So yeah. So I think about, okay, so fix the pitch on that row shoe. And then maybe it'll be there tomorrow. Or you could put your horn in the case, skip that hour that it would take to fix the pitch, and go have a beer with your friends. And either way, it's a missed opportunity. And so I try to imagine how I would feel the next day. And I think I would really like to fix this pitch, hoping that it'll be there tomorrow, because I just don't want to regret. I don't want to wake up tomorrow morning thinking, God, I wish I would have fixed that. Now I have that thing to do today, or now I have to play that recital today, and the pitch is not going to be there. And I hate that feeling. I hate that. I hate that thinking like, okay, well, I had a cutoff date when I was going to be done taking auditions. I was going to go be a paramedic actually, and I didn't want to get to that cutoff date thinking, I wish I'd practiced more. I wish I'd done more metronome practice. I wish I'd done more listening. I wish I'd done. That is a great watch. Is that a Zenith?
It is a Zenith, yeah.
Bravo.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Got it at the end of one of the Stones tours and had
Well, nice.
slightly more disposable income than I do now. We'll talk about that later.
Forgive me. So I don't know if you know, but I'm slightly ADHD. Let's go ride bikes. So I just especially with my career, Swallow was probably the most influential teacher I took from, and I just caught him at a time in his life when he had extra time to spend on me, and he used to give me all these jewels, these pearls of practical wisdom, and I'm like, God, these Boutry etudes are really hard. And he'd say, well, you wouldn't count yourself a virtuoso if you didn't play them, would you? No. I guess I better go practice. And it's just like all these different things. Like why aren't you doing more recitals, Tobe? Because I got these auditions. It's like, well, I think you're actually going to start winning auditions if you can do more recitals. Okay, so if I think he's wrong, and I go through my life not playing these recitals, and I get to that period of time when it's time to stop taking auditions, do I want to wonder if he was right? What if I do a recital and I try to do an audition at the same time, and I prove he's wrong? It actually didn't happen. It's quite the reverse. I did a recital, started winning jobs. Did a recital, started winning jobs. So it's just like a case in point, where it's a constant adjustment of how I'm going to feel about my preparation tomorrow, and what ends up happening is this situation where I'm constantly challenging myself, and delighted by what I learned from the process, instead of it being the terrible thing about it is that I'm constantly forcing myself into a place of discomfort because I'm doing something that I wouldn't normally do, just because I don't want to feel the angst and anxiety that comes from a missed opportunity the next day. But living in that question is far more enjoyable than living in the comfort of the same day over and over again.
I always say that, like, talking at clinics and stuff, like I say, practicing, or I should say good practicing, is intentionally making yourself feel uncomfortable. Because we all get in that comfort zone of, well, I can play this, I feel good, I'm playing this. So if it's kind of an extension of what I think you're saying, it's
Very
like,
much.
if you force yourself, I have the stuff I know that I hate to do, that I know I'll get better if I do it. And it's a question of, like you're saying, what it comes down to, what's more meaningful to you. And I think it's a very healthy way to look at it. Guys, it's been just a delight. This is the first time we've done a Bone2Pick interview with more than one person, and you guys have been delightful to talk to. And also, it's been great just to hear your own personalities come out. You're three individuals, you collectively make up this amazing section, but you have your own thoughts, and it's really, I appreciate the fact that you're willing to share them with all of our viewers today. For those of you who are fortunate enough to come to Boston, make sure you come hear these guys and their amazing orchestra. They make musical history night after night, and they're going to be continuing to do so for many years to come. So make sure you check out the great Boston Symphony Orchestra Trombone section. Jim, Steve, Toby, thanks so much for being with us, and we will check all of you next time on Bone2Pick.